Well, welcome back to the program. We have re-established communications with Bill Shorten after our audio assistant went on a stop work meeting. Bill, back to that question before we went to the break. That question about Qantas competing in a very competitive market against the carriers who have substantially less running costs and the unions trying to increase those costs. How do we solve it?
Well, there will be a fix here, that I do know. But let's just go to what some of the basic issues are. And we don't need people commenting from the grandstand on how to fix this. And I acknowledge that there's parties involved who know so much more than I might be aware of. Qantas, on one hand, is getting a lot of pressure internationally. That's a fact. Everything you said is right. But I wouldn't be not being true to my origins as a representative of workers and having done Qantas working, not to remind people that there's tens of thousands of people who work at Qantas. The pilots do a great job. The licensed engineers do a great job. The baggage handlers, you know, there's the flight attendants, the engineers, everyone's working hard there, the cleaners. I know that Qantas is a large, sophisticated company and capable of striking a resolution with the licensed engineers. It will invariably involve compromise on all parties. But I think that people expect leadership. They expect leadership from the workers' representatives and from the company. We should never forget that what Qantas calls costs is a worker's extra, you know, 20 or 30 bucks for doing their job that week. All right. So there is a middle ground. It will be found. But
you're not, at this point, the federal government is not going to step in, not going to be required to step in unless it is asked upon them.
Well, it has to be affecting the whole national economy. The parties have got the ability to go to Fair Work Australia. Qantas has indicated that it wants to keep negotiating, as has some of the relevant unions. It's something which I know the relevant government ministers are watching, but at this stage, you don't get involved in every commercial contract negotiation. You don't get involved in every dispute. You've got to leave it to the parties. But there are powers to step in if it escalated. All right, let's move on. Another boat has been intercepted in Australian waters, this time carrying 51 asylum seekers, and it's the first since the government was forced to shelve migration law changes. Another boat, another day. Yeah, I think we've got to be clear here. The government's put a solution which is given the tick by the experts, given a tick by the customs and the federal police and the agencies who are best placed to advise on border protection. But the opposition just said no. I mean, on one hand, the opposition, they want to say, oh yeah, we're all for border protection, rah, rah, rah. But on the other hand, they say, but only if you do it our way.
But Bill, you've got to fix it. You have to fix it. No matter what the opposition is saying, you're in government right now. You have to fix this. Otherwise, you know only too well, we are only going to see more boats. Well, the government has got a proposition to fix it, but I don't think you can quite let the opposition off the hook. We know that there was an election with a minority government. We know that, in this case, the opposition can stymie some of these reforms in the short term. And like, at some point, when does, you know, the question you ask is right, in that we're the government and the government's got to do what it has to do, but when does the opposition get judged by a similar standard? You know, the polls say they're just a heartbeat away from being the government. When do they flick the switch from negative to positive? All right, Bill, we have run out of time, unfortunately. There's plenty more to talk to you about today, but I just want to finish with this question. The Queen is in town. The Prime Minister did not curtsy to the Queen yesterday. Your thoughts on curtsying and bowing to the Queen? Oh, I'd have to say I didn't give a thought about bowing or curtsying. What I loved seeing when the Queen... you know, I guess our minds operate in different tracks there, Karl, but what I loved when I saw the Queen come down the steps, met by female Prime Minister, female Governor-General, female Chief Minister of the ACT, and even the Army Colonel was a female. Yeah. I just think it's a sign of the future that women can run the show. The Governor-General, though, the Governor-General curtsied, Bill? Again, you know, this is where you've got the job you've got, because you're right into that, you understand that detail. I totally missed that. I was just pleased to see the Queen visiting. I will go and watch the repeats, and thankfully I probably will never have to curtsy. The Governor-General did look resplendent, though, you can be assured. Oh, that's very good. Thanks, Bill. We'll talk to you soon. See you, Karl. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, Karl. Well, Most Clicked is next.